The introduction of the shot clock is up there alongside the introduction of the three-point line amongst the most impactful rule changes in NBA history. Without the shot clock, the league often had to endure drab, dull, boring games with low scores such as 19 to 18, which is why the 1954 rule change served to open up the game. In this video, we'll be going over a countdown of the top 10 highest scoring games in the history of the NBA. Before you guys get further into this video, if you're new to the channel and you enjoy everything NBA related, subscribe with those bell notifications on. And if you enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like. Coming in at number 10 is a game of the Boston Celtics 173-139 win over the Minneapolis Lakers, February 27, 1959. The Boston Celtics were on the verge of putting together the greatest dynastic run in the NBA history at this point. They faced arch rivals Minneapolis Lakers in the finals of 1958 and lost a really close final series 4-3 to them. In the Lakers' final season in the city of Minneapolis, they were stuttering during the regular season campaign, eventually finishing with a 33-39 record, although they made it back to the finals once again. The game back then was played at an ultra-frantic pace, which explains how the Celtics were able to rack up to 173 points in a blowout win, despite playing in second gear for much of the game. The top three scorers in this game were Celtics' Tommy Heinsohn with 43 points, Bob Cousy with 31, and Bill Sharman with 29, while the Lakers' top scorer was Elgin Baylor with 28. For number 9, we have the San Antonio Spurs 161-153 win over the Denver Nuggets on November 7th of 1990. The Denver Nuggets from the 80s and early 90s are going to be a prominent feature in this video, given their high-paced style of play in that era. They set several records for pace at the time, which hasn't been surpassed ever since. Alex English had walked as a free agent before the start of the season, and the Nuggets had gotten off to a 0-3 start to the season. For number 8, we got the Phoenix Suns beating the Denver Nuggets 173-143, November 10th, 1990. On barely the third day after being involved in a game with a total of 314 points scored by both teams combined, the Nuggets topped it against the Phoenix Suns. Except this time, they got blown off the floor by a margin of 30 points in Arizona, losing in a game whose final score of 173-143 could have been a little wider if the Suns had cared about running their totals up. Up next, we got the Cincinnati Royals winning against the San Diego Rockets 165-151 on March 12, 1970. The Royals had never had much postseason success despite having the most dynamic guard in the game on their team in Oscar Robertson. They often posted good regular season campaigns but failed to carry that momentum into the playoffs. The 1969-70 season was the last one played by Oscar for the franchise, and this was the worst record posted by the Royals due to a subpar supporting cast around the franchise player. They finished 6 wins below the Knicks, and out of the playoffs they went. Next up is the Philadelphia Warriors playing against the New York Knicks. The Warriors win 169-147 on March 2nd, 1962. A big part of Wilt Chamberlain's legend is his 1961-62 season when he averaged a frankly outrageous 50 points and 25 rebounds per game while playing 48.5 minutes per game. This man, who towered above the rest of the NBA at his peak, turned in a perfect demonstration of his dominance at Hershey Sports Arena on the 2nd of March, 1962. Up next, we had the Phoenix Suns winning against the New Jersey Nets 161-157 on December 7, 2006. The Suns were coming off 2 relatively successful campaigns in the 2006-07 season, having made 2 consecutive Western Conference Finals appearances. It was up to the roster to take the next logical step, and they started off strong this season around as well. Up next is the Denver Nuggets beating the San Antonio Spurs 163-155 on January the 11th, 1984. The Nuggets, as mentioned earlier, played at a breakneck pace through the 80s and 90s, with a couple of games from those days still to come higher up on the list. Denver led the league in pace with 110.5 possessions per game, with the Spurs coming in at a second place at a full 4.0 possessions per game. Next up is the Golden State Warriors beating the Denver Nuggets 162 to 158 on November the 2nd, 1990. The Warriors went through some dark times for much of their journey since their 1975 NBA championship. Better times seemed to be ahead, however, as Run TMC took flight for the Warriors during the early 90s. Tim Hardaway, Mitch Richmond, and Chris Mullin ushered in an era of fast-paced, exciting basketball. Their pace, however, was no match for the Nuggets, who led them in a pace by a margin of 113.7 possessions per game to 103.6, more than 10, with both the teams in the top 2 of the league by that metric. This game was the highest scoring and non-overtime period game in the history of the NBA, with the Warriors' superior overall quality outlasting the resistance posed by the Nuggets. Up next is the San Antonio Spurs winning over the Milwaukee Bucks 171 to 166 on March the 6th, 1982, in a free-scoring game pitting two big-time playoff teams with realistic chances of making the NBA Finals. This mid-season slugfest has gone down in league history as one of the most exciting games ever. The Bucks had a 42-16 record coming into this game, while the Spurs themselves had a healthy 37-21 record. And lastly, we have the Denver Nuggets and the Detroit Pistons, with the Detroit Pistons taking the win 186 to 184 on December 13th, 1983. This game trumps all the other games on this list as the Pistons and Nuggets combined to a score of total of 370 points over the course of 63 minutes of game time. To put it to perspective how crazy the scoring total was, there has only been one All-Star game with more points scored, and the All-Star games have been notorious for the lack of defense played by those on the field. This is the only NBA game in history with 4 40-point scorers overall. That is a wrap for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, be sure to leave a like on the video. That would be highly appreciated. Do not forget to subscribe with those bell notifications on. If you are new here, I would really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, you have a lovely day. I'll see you in the next upload.